Now, Andy, before we discuss where we are, here's a quick sight. Look, whoops, there we go. Kiwis heading out just to prove that I am
Lovely.
actually here in Barcelona.
Wow. Looks like a toy boat from there. It is actually the real one.
You're right, actually. Does a bit, doesn't it? Um, they're just going. It's funny when you get down close to the water. They do look a lot bigger, a lot quick, more quickly. They suddenly look like quite intimidating machines. But yeah, it's what time is it? It's just coming up for 1 o'clock local time here in Barcelona, and the dock out. Each of the teams docks out at certain times, and that was the Kiwis just leaving. Racing starts in an hour's time. But anyway, just wanted to show you that, just to make you envious. We are separated by, well, half a world away now, aren't we? Because you're in China now.
Yes, and yeah, I've got 113 foilers where I am, and you've only got six.
That's right. Yeah,
Um,
the proper.
so yeah, yeah. So yeah, this is the Wingfoil Racing World Cup in China, and maybe this is where some of the future America's Cup stars are going to come from. A lot of them are in their teens, a few of the older ones in their 20s, but actually no, there are even some ones in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 70s. But the fast ones are in their teens and their early 20s, and they're going. Yesterday, the top speed was 33 knots. And yes, I know that your boats in Barcelona can go a lot faster than that. But if you do it by bang for buck or measure it against not against dollar, then I think the wing foilers are winning.
Well, I can see you're scrambling around at all kinds of stats to justify this, but I mean, it is impressive. I'll give you that. The wing foiling is really impressive. But yesterday here it was the first day of the preliminary event, as you probably were aware, and so there was a lot of focus on what was going on because although the teams have been practice racing last week and the beginning of this week, this is the first time it's properly official, and we properly get to see the numbers and everything else. And one of the numbers that just makes you go, well, you just can't believe every time you see it, is when they slingshot around the top mark. There was about 12 to 13 knots of true wind yesterday, and they were slingshotting around the top. So they're bearing away around the top gate. 49 knots they were hitting at times. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, and then also the upwind speeds touching, late 30s.
Yeah.
I wonder if I saw a 39 upwind at one point. I mean, those numbers, even by the standards of 3 years ago, are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But Matt, fundamentally, I want to ask you, what do you know now that you didn't know 24 hours ago? How revealing was that?
I think it's more a confirmation of some of the chatter that's been going around rather than any particular revelation. And I think the chatter that's been going around has been that the two top teams here at the moment, the ones to beat, would be the Kiwis and Luna Rossa. They seem to be the quickest, the most proficient. And when you talk to the other teams, they're the ones that they say that there's them, and then there's the rest of us. Now there is a little bit of win games going on with that because, as with any cup, no one wants to be the favourites, and everybody's trying to sort of deflect attention to someone else. But those two teams do seem to be the most. And there's all kinds of reasons for that, not least of all the Kiwis have been leading this whole revolution. And because they're the top teams, yet in yesterday's preliminary event, which was, as you know, the opening day, and it started off looking really, really good. I mean, it was really tight pre-start, tight on the line. Both boats absolutely bang on the line, full speed. And for the first few minutes, it looked like it was going to be a right old battle up the beat. The Kiwis put in a very bold leap out tack, which, when you're doing 38 knots, is pretty impressive. And the next time they came together, just as the Italians were coming across on starboard, they splashed down and basically they had a complete systems failure and the whole boat shut down. And they had nothing other than just the mechanical steering of the boat. They couldn't control anything else. Doesn't bear thinking about what might happen if that happened in a slightly tighter situation, but we'll leave that for another day. But it basically, that was it. It was game over for the Italians. They did reboot the boat system, but Yeah, they then, in fact, their support boat, their team basically said, no, you need to retire. We need to do a proper reset on this, which they did. So we never got to see the two of them go together. Of course, we will. It's early days yet, but what it has done is it's raised a lot of chat about people are starting to realize just how dependent these boats are on their systems. Some people hate that. Some people say, well, that's not sailing, blah, blah, blah. Other people say that's the state that it's at the moment. Whatever your view on that, the reality is that these boats, and I know I've been saying this for a while, only echoing what teams have told me, these boats are substantially more sophisticated than they were last time around, and they were pretty complex then. Now they're on another level, and unfortunately, their dependency on these systems is just as great, if not greater. And so there is a chance that that would happen. That actually some of these races could well be decided by mechanical breakdowns. And the funny thing is that actually only a few days before the Kiwis were racing the Brits in a practice race, it wasn't televised. I was just watching it from the beach and saw them splash down. Didn't know what had happened, and they were stuck at the top of the course for an hour, about an hour, trying to sort things out. I got talking to someone in the team later on, and they'd said, "Yeah," and then we had a complete system failure, just shut down. So even the top dogs, and those are the two of the most sorted teams out there, are already having issues with shutdowns. I mean, obviously, everybody hopes that this isn't going to define the cup, and they'll get better at it. It was just a reminder that you can look at all the little details and differences in performance and hull shape and foil shape and the rest of it. But if the system shuts down, it could be the end of your day.
Yeah, I remember my mum's favorite car ever was an Alfa Romeo, and she loved it even when it broke down on the side of the motorway, and the AA had to come along and fix it. Is there a concern that Italian made can look fantastic, but sometimes the electrics can let it down?
Well, there might be in the motoring industry. I think that might have been true back in the day. My wife would certainly agree with that. I had an Alfa Romeo and I absolutely loved it, and she absolutely hated it because it wasn't very reliable. Um, but it was a great car when it was going well. I don't think you can aim that. I don't think you can make that accusation towards these boats. This is a everybody's having
Well,
issues.
based on what we saw yesterday, Matt, we could. I mean, that's a pretty fundamental breakdown that could determine the outcome of the America's Cup.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
not yesterday, but if that happens again.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's not just the Italians that everybody's experiencing this at some point. It's just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
many people are talking about it, and we got to see it for real. I mean, I would never have known about the Kiwi shutdown, for example, earlier in the week, had it not been for the fact that one, I was watching it from the beach because I'm a bit like that, and two, I bumped into someone who said, "Yeah, no, that was a system shutdown." We wouldn't have known otherwise. We only knew yesterday because it was part of a live broadcast. But the reality is, when you start talking to the teams and just chattering away, and then no one wants to go on record as saying this, um, but it's clear that they're all having problems, and they're all very aware that this could be an issue. So I don't think it's any particular nationality that are having a particular struggle with it. It's just I mean, some of the components also are some of the components are one design anyway, so everybody's got the same. I'm not saying that was the one that failed, I just don't know. Uh, but yeah, it's no, I think it is a concern. It's definitely a concern. But funny enough, I was just an hour ago just chatting to Tom from Telegraph, Daily Telegraph, who's down. It's down for a few days, and he covers Formula One and he covers um, the America's Cup, has done for many years. And he was saying it's been the same in Formula One for quite some time. That those cars are incredibly sophisticated. They do suffer mechanical breakdowns, as we've seen, an electronic breakdown. So I think sailing has just caught up with that kind of era. Yes, but let's hope it doesn't define too many races.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as for that other major breakdown, Alinghi, I mean, how surprised were you that they managed to get up and running as quickly as they did?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, we were sort of guessing that that's what they would come out fighting from that. And there's an argument that says that if there's one team that knows how to recover from losing a mass, it's the team that did it a few months ago, which was them. And so they knew how to recover, but to do it in 24 hours was just incredible. I mean, I guess they were pretty fortunate that when the rig did come down, it didn't do any damage to the boat. I mean, they're pretty fragile machines, but it didn't appear to, at least not any damage that stopped them from going out there. Um, so yeah, they put another mast in and they're out the next day. And there was at the press conference, one of the questions was, I guess having lost the mast twice, does that mean that when you go out there, you're going to be a bit tentative and you're less likely to push it hard? And Arno Sarafagis, who's the helmsman, said, no, well, I mean, we're here to race and we've got full confidence in our mast. And of course, you'd expect him to say that. He's not going to say, oh, yeah, I'm a bit scared. They went out there and they absolutely smashed it. I mean, it was just an extraordinary performance. And, you know, only a few hours before, there were people questioning whether this was the end of the Alinghi America's Cup campaign. Well, we all put right on in a few hours. No, they couldn't get back out there, and they did.
Matt, thank you very much for that. I know that you've got to get into that racing fairly quickly today, and we're going to come back together again in a few days' time. I found the first day quite fascinating, and yeah, as you say, maybe it's only a confirmation of what we thought we already knew. But yeah, I am absolutely blown away by those raw boat speeds that we saw. That was the standout for me.
Yeah. And so tell me about the format out there for the wing foiling. I mean, you've got lots of competitors. We know that. What's the format? How does it work? Is it all one massive, great big fleet race, big heats? What? How does it work?
Yeah, well, at the moment, it's 113, so you got 30 women and about 80 men, and they've been racing in equally split fleets for qualifying of about 20 boards each. And now tomorrow, Saturday, they get broken up into gold fleet and silver fleet, still racing in groups of 20. And then the final day, the top 10 go into the final day, and it's pretty much similar. It's sort of a hybrid of what people might have seen with the IQ foil windsurfers and the kites at the games, a bit more along the lines of the kite. So basically, the better you do throughout the week, the better the insurance policy you buy yourself for the final day. And so it's harder to beat the people at the top. But if you can get into that top 10, you still have a theoretical chance of winning overall. It's just the lower down the top 10 you start, the higher the mountain is that you have to climb on the final day.
What are the courses like? What are they? Windward Lures? Are they reaching? What are they like?
Um, all kinds of things, a huge range of courses, which actually I would say I would love to see a little bit of that in the America's Cup. I think that Windward Leeward's going to start to look pretty old quite quickly, and I'd like to see a bit more variety. We certainly got a lot of that in the wingfoil world, and the great thing is there are no high expectations on wingfoil racing, so we can come in with wild and wacky ideas and implement them very quickly, and we throw a load of mud at the wall and see what sticks. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that in these established events like the Olympic Games or like the America's Cup. I just think we're a little bit on rails with windward lewards and not enough thinking outside the box.
I quite agree with that. Bit difficult in the America's Cup, but certainly for other events, I think. I think it's a great point. A bigger time, but and so as far as is there any kind of indication of which nationalities and which nationalities are going to dominate and going to be the ones to watch?
Yeah, and it's mostly based on which federations are putting in the most effort. So the French Federation is treating it more or less as an Olympic sport, even though it's nowhere close to that at the moment. But you've got some ex-windsurfers and ex-kiters that are not big enough for that game. Sort of, more slightly built people that want to have a go at something else in foiling. And so the French are the ones to beat. The Italians are not far behind. But the Chinese in the last year or so have really thrown their weight and effort behind it. And when the Chinese decide to get their teeth into something, they don't do it by halves. So, I think the Chinese are going to come on pretty strong. And then you've got pockets of other countries, Poland, New Zealand, Australia, USA, Britain, various other European countries also taking it pretty seriously. But that's more individuals just really wanting to to give it a go. And at the moment, the sort of the strength of the French Federation is what's ruling the roost right now.
So my final question about it is: have you been tempted? I know what you're like with this kind of stuff. You go and see foils in a new store, and before you know it, you come home with a big rucksack, and guess what I'm doing next? So is this the new you?
No, you of all people can't accuse me of that. You're the boy with the most toys. Um, but no, I mean, I haven't reached that level of evangelism that other people have got. I've taken off on the foil a few times and immediately crashed. But that feeling of floating above the surface, the way that well-known sailors and people from all different backgrounds evangelize about this stuff, it is a religion to them, and I haven't reached that point of evangelism yet, but I'm aiming to get there in the next few months, and then I will bore you silly about
Oh, I
it.
can feel
But
it coming.
as you know, I mean, the America's Cup sailors themselves, they spend all their oodles of cash that they earn sailing those AC-75, so they can go and blow it all on little stupid wing foilers. I mean, that's where the traffic is going, and it's all relevant experience. I mean, I've heard Pete Burling and Nathan Outridge and Jimmy Spithill all say that it doesn't matter where you get your experience from. If you're getting experience either in some form of wind-powered sport or on some kind of wave-powered sport, or both, like wing foiling, where you're riding the wave and you're riding the wind at the same time, it's all extremely relevant experience if you want to actually be a grown-up America's Cup yachter.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Just looking to see. Oh, we've got broadcast teams going out, spectators going out. I think, Andy, it's my cue to go and get down to my desk and go and start getting ready for today's racing.
Yeah, well, hope it's an exciting one for you, Matt.
Yeah.
I'll be tuning in from China myself.
Okay, good stuff. Well,
Have a lovely day.
yeah, you too. Catch up next week.